Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm speaking to you from the pulpit of the synagogue. At this time, I'd like to speak to you about a fun subject. The fun subject I am calling comic books and Torah. Comic books and Torah. So the question is, a graphic novel or a comic book, would that be a good and appropriate way of dealing with the themes of religion? When I was younger, I confess, I was a bit of an intellectual snob, and I thought that serious themes ought to be reserved to highbrow genres. But now, I believe that popular genres may indeed be elevated to the level of true art when the subject matter moves us and the artistry is excellent. We know this instinctively in dealing with other genres. For example, music. From the minuets and sarabands of Bach to the tangos of Astor Piazzolla, and to Leonard Bernstein's Mambo from West Side Story. We see that great composers have taken popular dances and popular melodies and transmuted them into art of enduring value. And here I have a little commercial. Take 2 minutes and 44 seconds and check out online the conductor Gustavo Dudamel and the Simon Bolivar Symphony Orchestra performing Bernstein's Mambo. If your toes aren't tapping by the end of those 2 minutes and 44 seconds, check. See if you got a pulse. Or going to visual arts. Andy Warhol took the genre of pop graphic art beyond its conventional limits. His rendering of Barbra Streisand, for instance, made the point that a Jewish entertainment figure did not need to alter her so-called Jewish nose to make it in a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant world. In one image, Warhol conveyed what the sociologists and the historians of the 1960s were just beginning to recognize, that a generation of American-born Jews had the right to be itself, and that in the process of asserting our own identity, we were helping our country move to a better place, a more tolerant embrace of the multi-ethnic and multicultural reality of American life. Once we get over ourselves, we can ask the right questions about using pop genres like comic books to explore and express our religious sentiments. Does the genre make good use of the immediate accessibility of the way in which it communicates itself? You already know that I believe so, as in the case of the work I discussed last week, Art Spiegelman's graphic novel, Maus. But now, let's think about comic books specifically and Torah, how they can marry up in aesthetically moving and religiously pleasing ways. Now I want to tell you about something which is happening this coming weekend. I'm very excited about it. This coming weekend, that is to say, Friday, February 4th, Saturday, February 5th, that Shabbat, our Southampton Roads, Virginia Jewish community will be treated to a wonderful visit with two cutting-edge artists, Isaac and Rabbi Shauna Bringegard Bialik. This artist and rabbi duo use the medium of paper art, specifically the repurposing of panels and images from comic books to create a thought-provoking and soul-expanding commentary on the classics of Judaism, from the Bible to the canon of rabbinic literature. I will show you two examples of this innovative art, simultaneously fun and serious. The Brinjagard Bialik's reinterpretation of the classic theme, 12 Tribes of Israel, and their fresh take on the theme, Woman of Valor, from the biblical book of Proverbs. 12 tribes. Most of us are familiar with the symbols of the 12 tribes of Israel, ultimately deriving from the blessing of the sons of Jacob in the book of Genesis, chapter 49. The wall clock in our synagogue's day chapel, its minyan room, features that theme. Art devoted to the symbols of the 12 tribes appears on the standard boxes of Hanukkah candles we purchase each year. When we go to Israel, it is virtually a commandment to make a pilgrimage to the Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem to see the Marc Chagall windows devoted to the 12 tribes. What new could be envisioned and created in this field? I will answer this question by quoting the artist's own words. Quote, "The tribes were not originally one people, but different people who came together with common interests and common goals. In working with the tribes, plural, tribes, I found there was so much I wanted to say in response to what I'm seeing around me today. I see people who fear and mistrust anyone who's not just like them. But my idea of America is a place where our differences make our country stronger and better. My versions of the 12 tribes incorporate minority superheroes as an exploration of the diversity of voices that make up America. It's about acknowledging the strength and power of each of us to be a hero." So this is an aha moment. The comic books of today, with their minority superheroes, say explicitly what the 1940s series Superman only hinted at. In the older work, Superman, the creation of a Jewish artistic team, the writer Jerry Siegel and the artist Joe Shuster, Superman was a Jew in disguise. His original name, Kal-El, with the suffix El, or the other members of his family, like Jor-El. These names are modeled on biblical names, incorporating El, the name of God. Like Moses, Superman is a refugee, forced to leave his people so that his life could be spared, forced to live as a stranger in a strange land. Again, like Moses, Superman's mission is to bring justice to the world, to rescue the needy and the oppressed from the cruelty of their oppressors. Superman is a rebuff to the Nazis. Who was worthy of the title Superman? Nazi rhetoric claimed that the Aryan was the Übermensch. But Superman reminds us that the rescuer, not the mass murderer, is the super one. Today's comic books are likely to cast as superheroes members of those minorities in the public eye today. These comics find heroes among Native peoples, Latinos, African Americans, and the like. The Brinjagard Bialik duo incorporate those themes into their 12 Tribes series. Again, in Isaac's words, to try to organize, make sense of, and ultimately put back together the torn pieces of the American dream. Now, talking about the Woman of Valor. Growing up, I devoured each issue of Batman and Superman as they came out. But ever since the Israeli actress Gal Gadot's portrayal of Wonder Woman, 2017, I have to give the nod to that founding member of the Justice League as my favorite superhero, or should I say, superheroine. In Brinjagard Bialik's artwork, quote, Woman of Valor, he and she use the pop culture Wonder Woman to provide commentary on one of the best loved passages in the entire Bible. Eshet Chayil mi yimtza, a woman of valor, who can find? The closing paragraph of the biblical book Mishlei, the book of Proverbs. The poster for the exhibition Women of Valor, reproduced here, comes from the Brinjagard Bialik's 2015 work, Tree of Mothers and Daughters. We are familiar with family trees. Here, the tree marries image and text, text from the Bible and text from the comics, to celebrate the rootedness of woman as mother and the blossoming of woman as daughter. Another work in the Women of Valor series explicitly quotes the imagery and text of the Wonder Woman comics, and that's why I began with a reference to Wonder Woman. In one of the panels of that artwork, the comic book Wonder Woman of the mid-20th century points to her spaceship and asks, I suppose it's ironically, would you like to drive? In Saudi Arabia, even now, women are only just beginning to get permission to drive. And in many repressive states, the interpretation of Sharia prevents women from driving completely. In America of 75 years ago, women did drive, but typically they drove their children to school, they drove to the supermarket. They did not drive, typically, when their husbands were in the car with them. Wonder Woman, would you like to drive my spaceship? Is subversive in a good way. Now, that particular artwork is not depicted here in this message. And that's on purpose, because I really want you to register for the art gallery tour on Saturday night, February 5th, starting at 7:30. That's where you can see it. To register, go to the webpage of the United Jewish Federation of Tidewater and look up Tidewater Together, or start with Tidewater Together, and then you'll see jewishvirginia.org. Once you get to Tidewater Together, you will see a listing for the February 5th virtual event. Gallery Talk. You did what to my comics? That's the name of the talk. Then you click on RSVP for the event. Registration is free and open to the community. You need to register so that you can receive the Zoom meeting number and passcode for the event. A final thought. Making the Bible speak to our condition today, what could be more Jewish? Shalom.